Ushio is an average-looking guy who goes to high school, likes drawing, and wants to be a painter. He, however, descends from the bloodline of the ancient order of elite samurais who used to fight against the evil of the world. According to the legends that his father, who was a lecturer at the temple, told him 500 years ago, this earth was on the brink of getting destroyed because of a legendary monster that was on the rise and was killing everyone that came in his sight. Everyone was scared of him and ran away from the villages as soon as they heard that this monster was even remotely nearby. One of his ancestors, however, a strong samurai, used a spear, which was created in China specially for the purpose of slaying monsters, to impale this giant monster to the wall, successfully stopping the monster, but in the process he ended up dying. Even this morning he has a small tussle with his father, in which this absolute unit of a man ended up kicking his own father in the jaw. Later on, Ushio tells his dad to shut the hell up or show him the legendary spear that he keeps talking about. They again start fighting about this until his father gets up and starts packing his stuff. Ushio asks whether he is leaving for good, but his father tells him that he is just going on a vacation for 7 days to Netflix and chill and be away from his irritating face. Ushio's father tells him to dust the books in the shed and show them some light before going, and Ushio tells him to piss off before closing the door. Later that day, he decides to fulfill his father's wishes and goes inside of the shed to dust the books, but while carrying the giant load of books, his legs get stuck in something and he falls over. He gets up to examine the ground and is surprised to see a trapdoor right beneath him that he has never seen before because it was covered by a carpet. He grabs the handles and tries to open the door, but the door seems to be very thick and heavy, just like the woman next door. This musclehead decides to use brute strength and literally rips the bolts of the door apart somehow, but is unable to handle the weight of the door and falls inside. He gets up and cleans the dust off of him when suddenly he feels a very eerie presence behind him. He turns around slowly just to see a giant yellow-colored monster sitting near the wall. This scares the crap out of him, and then to put the icing on the top, the monster is alive as it starts talking. He asks why Ushio is staring at him, as it is creepy even for the monster. Then the monster suddenly tells Ushio that it is good that he came down, as he is currently impaled by this damn spear, and only a human can pull it out of him. The monster tells him that he has been trying to get himself out of this situation from the past 500 years, but no matter what he does, he cannot seem to get rid of the damn spear. He tells Ushio again to remove the spear, but Ushio asks him what he will do if he does. The monster looks him in the eye and tells him that first he will devour Ushio, and then he will kill the rest of the people living around and once again create this world a living hell. Ushio starts kicking the spear more inside of the monster, and the monster starts crying out of pain as he doesn't realize why Ushio doesn't want to let him loose from the spear. The monster then tries to attack Ushio and is able to reach him with his nails, cutting him above the forehead, but Ushio is a gigachad and just keeps pushing the spear even more inside of him. He then gets up and starts going up the stairs, but the monster gets scared of losing his chance to escape and starts calling him and saying that he didn't mean what he said and that he just got carried away by the thought of freedom. He tells Ushio that if he pulls the spear out of him, he will do whatever he says, and he will keep this promise as he is scared of humans. Ushio, however, looks at him and tells him that he will not let a monster like him lose in this world ever, and walks outside and proceeds to bore the entire trapdoor up, while the monster cries out to him to not do it. Ushio then proceeds to go to school as if nothing had happened. The balls on this man must be made up of steel. He meets up with two of his classmates named Ino and Naka, who both seem to like Ushio. Ino comments that Ushio seems to be lost in his own thoughts and asks him whether he was okay. Even Naka comments that it is not like Ushio to think about anything ever before she asks him whether he brought the book that he borrowed from her several days back, and Ushio says he hasn't. Naka tells him that she will be coming after school to his place, so he better keep the book ready, and they all go inside their classes. Even in class, Ushio can't help but think about the monster in his basement and starts drawing a picture of it before he is invited to play soccer. He has amazing reflexes and is able to win the game very easily for his team before he decides to go back to his place. In the afternoon, Naka, alongside Ino, visits his house to get the book back, but as soon as Ushio opens the door, he spots some weird transparent flying thingies that look like the floaters that you see sometimes in your eyes. He tries to get rid of them, but to the girls it looks like Ushio has gone insane, and to bring him back to reality, Naka kicks him in the face. Excellent job, woman, now he has amnesia as well. Ushio gets up and runs towards the shed, where he starts taking the wooden planks apart and shouts at the monster, asking him what he did to his eyes as he is seeing illusions. The monster laughs at him and tells him that when Ushio opened the trapdoor, 500 years worth of demonic energy was released in the outside world, which attracted lesser demons, and he can probably see them earlier only because he saw him inside of the shed. The monster tells him that the lesser demons will materialize soon and start killing humans left and right. He then tells Ushio that it is all his fault that his precious little friends will die, and he cannot do anything about it, but the monster promises that if he frees him, he will not kill Ushio or his friends and will get rid of every single lesser demon in the area. Not having a choice, Ushio goes down and grabs the spear with both hands. He then starts pulling the spear, and after some effort, the spear gets free of the monster's body. The monster is impressed by Ushio's pull-out game, but decides to attack him anyways. Ushio is thrown against the wall and he starts bleeding. He looks at the monster and asks him why would he do that, and the monster laughs in his face and tells him that he must be dumber than a cupboard to think that he will keep his promise to a weak little human. Ushio can't believe himself and thinks about the girls in trouble. Before he starts getting angry, an unholy aura starts generating around him. His hair also starts growing, which scares the living out of him. He curses himself for not noticing that the boy still had the legendary spear and looks in horror as Ushio starts looking more and more like the samurai who impaled him in the first place. Lucio is still pursuing the monster even though he freaks out and runs outside, killing every lesser demon in his path. The monster runs and suddenly becomes Pikachu, shocking every demon around him to a crisp and saying sorry to Lucio and promising that he will kill every demon. Lucio looks towards the house and notices that the demons have congregated and became one huge entity. He tells the monster to go and attack the greater demon first and that he will finish it off soon after. The monster listens to Lucio without a word and jumps in the sky using his claws to tear through the demon before Lucio jumps and shreds the demon to pieces with the help of the spear. He lands down, his hair starts falling off, and the monster tells him that he kept his promise and killed the lesser demons and starts to walk away, but Lucio stops his path and tells him that more demons are around, and until they have killed every single demon, he is going to stay with him. He names the monster Tora and starts walking towards his house with him, thinking that a day will come soon when he will impale the monster and seal him again. The following day, Lucio wakes up to the loud sound of Tora breaking his TV as he thought the samurai inside of it was coming to kill him. Lucio goes to school alongside Tora, who is sitting on his shoulder and is invisible to the rest of the students. Lucio is forced to carry his spear with him, as he needs the spear to draw out his powers in case Tora decides to rebel. He meets up with Ino and Naka inside of the school, who claim that they both had the same scary dream last night about a bunch of monsters trying to kill them. Lucio just smiles, glad that they don't know what happened in reality. He asks them about where they were headed to, and they reply that they are going inside of the old school building to shift some books as they want to renovate it. Lucio reminds her that the class begins soon, and she replies that she will be back before that. Lucio goes inside of the class, but some time passes by and the girls still haven't returned. The teacher has already started teaching about Japanese history, and out of everyone in the class, Tora seems to be the most interested in knowing what happened in the last 500 years and is even taking notes. Suddenly, the ground shakes, and a very shrill noise is being emitted by Lucio's spear that apparently only he can hear. He gets scared for the girls and immediately grabs his spear and rushes outside of the class. And on the staircase, he is shocked to see one of the girls that went with Naka and Ino, half turned into stone, asking for help and crying. Lucio screams at the teacher to help the girl and rushes outside. The news spreads like wildfire and a bunch of media and police arrive in front of the old school building, presuming it to be a case of kidnapping. They enter inside the school but are unable to find anything, and they come out once again, confused as to where did the girls go. Lucio asks Tora what is this all about, and he starts laughing, saying he can't believe Lucio didn't feel the presence of the giant rock monster residing in the old building. Lucio grabs his hair and tells him to give more information, but Tora snaps back and scratches him on his hand, claiming that he will give him no more information. He tells Lucio that humans don't mean anything to him, and he will devour them if it comes to it. Lucio gets mad and takes out his spear and attacks Tora. Tora dodges and strikes back, but Lucio is able to dodge his claws and hits him in the face before impaling his hand to the ground a little bit. Tora starts crying out in pain and tells him to take it out. Lucio removes the spear and Tora tells him that he's pretty sure the culprit here is a rock eater who lives inside of dark and musty places and waits for humans to enter his area so that it can devour them. He also claims that rock eaters are dangerous, and once he saw a rock eater turn an entire group of armored samurais into stone. Lucio had enough of the conversation and decides that he needs to act now. He rushes through the police who try to stop him and enters the old building, where he slashes at the invisible barrier and immediately breaks, revealing a giant rock samurai. The samurai attacks Lucio, but he blocks it and jumps behind him, stabbing him in the chest, thinking that he killed him, but Tora starts laughing and tells him that the samurai is just a pupper, and it's not the actual monster. Suddenly, a tentacle arises from the samurai's eye and stabs Lucio, who loses his spear and turns back to normal. He tries to get to the spear, but two more tentacles arise from the samurai and they bang him against the ceiling. The barrier starts closing and Tora decides to hop through the other side before telling Lucio that if he is unable to run before the barrier closes, he will die an agonizing death. Lucio looks back at Tora and asks him to help. Tora tells him not to order him to help him as he is done with him, but to his surprise, Lucio tells him to save the girls and run away. Tora looks at him in disbelief and asks him whether he has gone crazy. Why would he want to save the lives of other humans, especially when he himself is in danger? But Lucio stands his ground and pleads with Tora to save the girls. Tora ends up giving in and rushes to carry all of the girls outside the barrier, and he looks back at Lucio. Lucio takes one last look at him, thanks him for saving the girls, and apologizes that he didn't get to devour him. Tora has had enough, and he jumps in between the barrier and stops it from closing while Tora is still turning to stone. The rock eater is shocked to see a monster taking the human side and uses a bunch of his tentacles to stab Tora as well, who can't do anything because he is stopping the barrier. Lucio wishes very hard for the spear to come to him, and surprisingly, the spear flies towards him and stabs him in the stomach, where the rock formation has been completed. Suddenly, he stops changing into a stone, and then the spear rushes towards Tora, who gets scared, but the spear just lodges itself in the barrier, letting Tora leave. Tora gets out from between the wall and walks towards the rock eater and Pikachu's the crap out of him. There is a huge explosion and both Lucio and Tora launch themselves in the sky. The samurai crumbles to pieces and the actual monster appears in the form of two centipede heads. Tora tells him that this is the real monster and Lucio has to use his spit on their eyes to weaken and kill them. Lucio starts falling towards the centipedes and he spits on his spear, before stabbing it in the centipede's eyes one by one, killing the monster in an instant. He then quickly slashes at the girls who were turned to stone, which releases them from the curse, before running away with Tora in the sunset. That night, Tora and Lucio are on TV, which delights Tora as he can't get enough of it, while Lucio tries to sleep. Ushio's father has finally returned from the trip, and once again he starts lecturing Ushio in the morning about their history, without knowing that the damn monster that he is talking about is literally behind him. His dad once again tells him never to try and go under the shed, and Ushio quickly changes the topic and gets up to leave for school. His dad looks at the giant spear that he is carrying and uneasily laughs about how it looks like a legendary spear, but it obviously cannot be. Ushio laughs with him, saying that it obviously isn't, before briskly walking out of the house. His dad follows him and looks with his jaw dropped that the trapdoor has been completely destroyed. Later that day, Ushio alongside the girls and Tora visit the art gallery, where Ushio seems to be very excited and happy, looking at all these pictures. Tora cannot really understand his excitement over paint splattered on paper, but he still sits on his shoulder and goes alongside him. They finally come to a picture, which Ushio describes as the masterpiece of the great artist Hanyu, who died after creating this picture. The girls ask why this is just the photograph of the actual painting, and Ushio replies that the real painting belongs to his daughter Reiko. Tora, however, stares at the picture for some time before realizing that the person who painted this is a human demon, and this painting is cursed. The following day, as Ushio is walking to school, a senior at his school trips him and begins punching him for no apparent reason. Tora laughs and watches the fight from a distance. Suddenly, a girl walks up from behind him and tells him to let go of him, and the senior left him alone and moved. Everyone started talking among themselves, and the girl simply moved away. Ushio immediately recognized the girl as Reiko from the painting and calls after her. She turns around and tells him that she didn't do it for him or anything, so don't get any thoughts. Ushio, however, keeps pressing and asks her whether she is Reiko, the daughter of the famous painter Hanyu, and she replies that she is. She turns around the corner and he still pursues her. A speeding truck comes through, hitting Tora, but Ushio was able to grab his spear and transform just in time to split the truck in two and saves his own life. Reiko disappears from there, and Ushio also goes back to his house, but later goes over Naka's place and asks her about Reiko. She seems to be defensive at first, thinking that he likes her, but he tells her that he only wants her to model for a painting and nothing else, as it was his dream to draw her as one of his French girls. Naka starts telling him about Reiko and reveals that she was a transfer student last year in their school, and the boys were immediately smitten by her beauty, but she always kept to herself and never talked to anyone. Naka, however, wanted her to have friends and started talking to her, and slowly she started opening up. They become friends, but once a guy from her class asked her out, and suddenly that very day he died because a bunch of bricks fell on him, crushing him to death. That very day, Reiko tried to off herself inside of her own tub, but thankfully she was found by the authorities before late, and they saved her. And once when Naka tries to force her to talk, she pushed her away. She tells her that she needs to stay away from her, as if she doesn't, bad things will happen to her. Just then, sharp objects fall out of Sky's ass for no reason, but Reiko jumps on Naka and protects her from dying by getting stabbed. She then told her to stay away from her, as she doesn't want her to get hurt because of her. That day, when he was walking back to his place, he is again stopped by the senior, who grabs him and asks him why he is nosing around Reiko and punches him in the face, which delights Tora, who starts enjoying the show as both the senior and Ushio fight with each other. Finally, Ushio the idiot stops the senior's punch with his head, as he doesn't any brain inside anyways, and tells the senior that he knows that the senior is aware of Reiko's problem, before punching the senior to the ground. They then lay down on the ground next to each other and start talking. The senior reveals that when they were young, he and Reiko were best friends and practically inseparable. Then one day, her mother eloped with one of her dad's art students, and everything changed. The next time he saw her dad, he was frantically and demonically working on the painting of Reiko, and it looked like he was possessed. The very next day, he died, and ever since, he has been haunting Reiko, and not letting poor Reiko live her life, as he is scared that a guy will take her away from him. Ushio decides that he will not back off this easily, and next day, during the folk dance, he is able to convince Reiko to dance with him, and she reluctantly agrees but slowly starts liking being normal, but suddenly, a dust devil erupts and covers both of them inside of it. Suddenly, Ushio is hit from behind and a huge gash erupts on his back, and he starts bleeding. Suddenly, a demon comes out of the dust devil and tells Ushio to piss off, as Reiko only belongs to Daddy. He tries hitting Ushio again, but this time Tora comes through and stops the demon, telling him that no half-demon touches his human, and shocks him away. The senior rushes towards Ushio and helps him up, and by the time they look around, they realize that Reiko has disappeared. They both rush towards her house and are horrified to see her on top of her house as she jumps off the roof, telling her dad that she is coming to him. Ushio quickly throws his spear into the wall, and she gets stuck on the spear a bit, while he and the senior run to the first floor, and together, they are able to grab it. To their absolute horror, the demon is standing below, calling Reiko to him, saying that she belonged to Daddy and Daddy alone. Ushio screams at her to not listen to him. He tells her that she is not alone, that people care for her. He tells her that she should choose the living over the dead, and something resonates with her, and she grabs their hand, and they all are able to pull her inside. The demon is distraught at her daughter for betraying her just like her mother did, and grabs both Reiko and the senior and starts taking them back inside of the painting. Ushio quickly grabs his spear and launches himself at the demon, and starts to stab it, but his spear has no effect on it. Tora laughs at him and tells him that he is already in the picture world, and there he cannot kill the demon. The demon grabs Ushio as well and starts sucking him in as well. Tora laughs at Ushio and tells him to beg him for his help. Only then he will help him. But surprisingly, Ushio doesn't say anything and gets sucked in by the painting. This pisses Tora off, and he launches himself on the painting and grabs Ushio's head, telling him that only he gets to devour him, but the painting is not letting go, so Tora goes inside the painting and bitch slaps the demon and takes all of them out before telling Ushio to stab the painting. Ushio grabs his spear and stabs the painting, but at the last moment, this stupid thought Reiko gets in the middle and gets stabbed alongside the painting, horrifying both Ushio and the senior. But it turns out that the spear has no effect on her, as she simply slips off and the painting behind her gets destroyed. Tora claims that the spear is only effective on demons and does not harm humans. They all see that a golden projection of Reiko's dad erupts from the painting, and it bows in front of them before telling Reiko to live her life to the fullest and disappearing. Tora has adapted to living with Ushio, even though he still sometimes tries to find places where Ushio doesn't take his spear with him, so that Tora can attack. But even when he tried attacking him in the bathroom, Ushio beat him up as he even carried the spear inside. Ushio walks to the living room and discovers a letter by his dad, which told him not to look for him. What a drama queen. He then turns on the TV and sees an emergency announcement telling people that one of the areas in Tokyo is unsafe to go because there might be some big wild animal nearby. According to the report, a bunch of construction workers who were trying to excavate a giant landmark were killed by an unknown animal, as there were a bunch of huge bite marks all over their bodies. The thing that is puzzling to them is that whatever animal it was, it even bit through the metal of the cranes. Tora immediately is filled with unreal rage as he thinks that it must be the work of Tora, as he is the one who looks like an animal and can definitely chew through metal. He shouts Tora's name. He comes down and asks Ushio why he was making such a racket, but is surprised to see Ushio already transformed and angry. He asks him what is the matter, but Ushio straight up accuses him of killing the people in the city and attacks him. Tora dodges and screams that he has no idea what Ushio is talking about, but Ushio simply smacks the spear on his head with a lot of force, hurting him. Tora gets incredibly angry and backs off before trying to Pikachu the crap out of Ushio. Ushio, however, is able to absorb all of the lightning with the help of his spear, and Tora realizes that currently Ushio is stronger than him and jumps up in the sky, before flying away, telling Ushio that he never ate any humans for the past 500 years, but now that Ushio has already accused him for something that he never did. He goes into the city and is totally shocked to see so many weird things that he has never seen before. He is shocked to see the huge buildings and the cars rolling around on the road and doesn't have any idea what he should make of them. He is also shocked to see how many humans are walking on the road, but thinks that it would just make his job easier. He tries walking on the road, but is instantly hit by a truck and gets stuck into the wall. This angers him and he starts screaming at the cars driving by, but obviously no one can see him, so he just uses his lightning attack and destroys the battery of every single car nearby, happy with his little revenge. Meanwhile, Ushio runs towards the city. He was walking past his street when he sees a bunch of people standing around a crime scene, and he goes over to have a look at it. The police are all telling people to stay back, but one old man keeps telling the policeman that this is not some animal's doing. In fact, it is the result of demons who got released the last night. But he pulls out a book and shoves it in their faces, telling them that this is his grandfather's journal, and it is clearly written that it was a site where demons were sealed away. The policeman has had enough and he pushes the old man back, who stumbles, but Ushio catches him, commenting about the rude policeman. He asks the old man whether he was fine and picks his book for him, but suddenly stops as he looks at the picture of a beautiful older woman on it. The old man explains that this journal belongs to his grandfather, and when he was a child, there were demons lurking around in the forest who used to devour anyone who came nearby. The villagers called everyone they can think of, samurais and warriors and even exorcists, but they never returned back alive. The villagers finally decided that they cannot stay here anymore, as every other day someone from the village would get eaten by the demons. One day, however, a beautiful young woman entered their village who introduces herself as Mikado. She told the villagers to give her one chance and promised them to get rid of the demons. She entered the forest alone, but the old man's grandfather was a young boy who was full of hormones and couldn't help himself but go after the older woman, who went inside the forest alone, risking his own life as well. When he reached the forest, he was shocked to see that the lady was standing in front of a bunch of monsters and forcing them back inside the boxes by using some special enchantment. The demons were screaming at her and vowing revenge, but she ended up closing them in separate boxes before using a large landmark to bury them. She then looked around and spotted the kid and walked up to him, telling him that she might not be around the next time they get released, so he should make sure that no one ever moves the keystone. Otherwise, the demons will be released and wreak havoc in this world. Ushio is speechless and looks at the old man as he tells him that last night the keystone was removed by the excavators and the demons have been released. Now they will not stop till they have had their revenge on the person that captured them, Mikado. Ushio suddenly takes a closer look at the picture and realizes that the woman in the picture has an uncanny resemblance to Ino and is most probably her ancestor. The old man says that if it is so, then she's in grave danger, as the demons will definitely go after her. Ushio begs the man to help him and he gets his car and drives him to the city. On the other end, Tora is doing a very bad job navigating around this modern world as he keeps hitting glass walls everywhere, and he is unable to cope with the stench of modern perfume and can't eat other people because everyone has something or the other on their body that is indigestible to Tora, such as a metal bracelet, ring, or earrings. He sulks around the entire city, thinking that he will never be able to eat a human ever again, when suddenly he goes past Ino. He doesn't recognize her, but immediately stops and looks at her soft body. He realizes that she smells nice and doesn't have any earrings or piercings on her. He gets very excited as soon as he realizes that he can eat her. He prepares to jump on her, but suddenly stops because he realizes that there are other monsters around this place that are not him. He looks behind and spots a bunch of weird-looking floating heads flying towards her. They take one look at her and immediately attack her, even before Tora has the time to react. Thankfully, however, Ushio arrives just in time and throws his spear at the heads, who quickly move away. He then screams at Ino to make a run for it, but she is too dazed and confused to do anything. One of the heads tries attacking her again, but Ushio simply calls his spear back, forcing the head to move away from that position. Ino quickly runs inside of the mall, while Ushio stands in front to defend her. The heads try to chase her, but Ushio simply swings his spear at them. To his surprise, however, one of the heads simply grabs his spear in between his teeth and one of the heads uses its long hair to bind Ushio, while two more run up to him and start biting him and try to kill him. Ushio, however, is made of tough steel, and the heads are unable to kill him, so they simply toss him away at a car, injuring him before going after Ino again. Tora gets angry at the heads as Ino is his prey and tries to go after them, only to hit another glass window, which enrages him, and he stops being invisible, breaking the window and getting inside of the mall. He tries to find her, but suddenly spots her falling out of the higher floor, which was destroyed by the heads. She keeps slipping, however, and starts falling towards the head, who has his mouth already open, but Tora is incredible fast and grabs her before she could fall down. He takes her up on the roof of the building and tells her that she is her prey and only he will eat her. Suddenly, the heads come up on the roof as well and ask Tora who he was. They tell him that Ino was their prey, and if he comes in between, they will devour him as well. Tora simply looks at them and smiles, telling them to try their best. One of the heads rushes towards him, but Tora simply grabs him and smashes him into the ground, killing him instantly. The other heads are shocked at Tora's incredible strength, but tell them that they will eat the girl no matter what, and one of the heads uses his hair to bind Tora before telling the others to go after the girl as he will take care of him. Ino starts running once again, while Tora is bound by one of the heads and the others run after Ino. The head that captured Tora looks at him and mocks him for thinking that he could take on all the heads on its own, but Tora merely laughs at him, saying that how could the heads be stupid enough to think that they ever had a chance against him. He breaks through the hair and jumps at the head, biting half of it in a single go, killing it instantly. The heads chase the girl and finally catch up to her, injuring her a bit, but Tora arrives just in time, flaunting the half-eaten head in his hand and telling them to back off and not to touch and dirty the girl up. The heads are horrified to see another of their family member dead at Tora's hands, and rush to bite him. Tora simply stands there grimacing and gives an eerie smile, mocking their futile efforts, before he becomes Pikachu again and shocks the crap out of all of them, burning them to crisps and killing them in an instant. One of the heads, who is still somehow alive, tries to rush at Ino so he can at least kill her and take his revenge, but before he could touch her, Ushio arrives and stabs him in the head, killing it in an instant. Tora gets incredibly sad because now he won't be able to eat the girl and tries to quickly run away, but Ushio stops him and Tora immediately gets ready for a fight. But to his surprise, Ushio looks at him and apologizes for accusing him of killing the humans in the city. A huge smile erupts on Tora's face, and he starts trash-talking Ushio about how he's a numbskull who acts before thinking and how his entire bloodline must be stupid. They start fighting again, but Ino stops their fight and gives Tora a burger because she heard he was hungry. Tora is completely dumbfounded at this stupid girl, as he can't believe she just offered a human-eating demon a burger. Ushio suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night, sensing something coming from the spear. He gets up just in time to dodge Tora's attack. He yells at him about what the hell does he think he is doing, and Tora casually replies that he is doing what he is supposed to do, looking for an opportunity to devour him. Ushio gets mad and grabs his spear to maybe lightly hit Tora on the head, as he believed he must have reached some kind of compromise with him, but Tora immediately dodges his attack and slashes at his face. Tora laughs at him and tells him that he only has hatred for Ushio in his heart. He tries to attack him again, but the spear automatically starts defending Ushio as he gets up angrily, grabbing the spear and transforming, ready to fight Tora. Tora, however, quickly jumps out of the window and flies away, while Ushio is left fuming with anger. Ushio looks at himself in the morning and realizes that the claw marks still haven't gone away because he was in his human form when Tora attacked. He gets even more mad and vows that he will kill Tora the next moment he sees him, as a monster will always be a monster. Ushio goes outside for a walk when he overhears a bunch of noise and notices a guy in black beating the crap out of two punks who were bullying a family. The man in black, however, takes out his kunes and throws it at them with the intent to kill the punks. Ushio, however, quickly jumps in between and blocks the kunes with his spear, asking the man whether he has lost his mind, as these men will die if he does that. The man looks at Ushio and he sees the shadow of a monster on him, which angers him, and he begins attacking him. Ushio dodges his attacks but gets caught up in a rope. The man is able to trip him down and steps on top of him, ready to kill him when the spear automatically hurls itself towards the man, injuring him. The man immediately recognizes the beast's spear and calms down. He picks Ushio up and bows down to the ground immediately, saying that he was mistaken to attack a wielder of the beast's spear. Ushio tells him to get up as he has already forgiven him, and they start talking. The man introduces himself as Hugh, who has as a demon hunter, who roams around different places hunting for demons. He tells Ushio that he had a family, a wife and a daughter, who he loved more than anything in this world, but once he had to go out for a business trip. And when he returned back at his home and called out to his wife, no one replied. He got scared, so he quickly opened the door, and suddenly a demon who looked like an animal jumped out and clawed at his face, leaving the deep scars that he carries till day. He says that he got a picture from the TV of a similar-looking demon that was spotted near an old school building, where a bunch of schoolgirls were kidnapped, and he shows Ushio a picture of Tora. Ushio realizes that the monster that the man is looking for is not Tora, because Tora was sealed away for 500 years inside his basement and was released only a couple of weeks ago, so he can't possibly have killed the man's wife and kid. He was about to tell Hugh that the monster he is looking for isn't Tora, but stops in the middle and remembers how Tora attacked him in sleep. A wave of anger rushes inside him again, and he tells the man that the demon he is looking for is indeed Tora, and he should kill him as soon as possible. Ushio leaves the place and goes back to his home, while Hugh finds where Tora is hiding and engages him in a deadly combat. Ushio goes to school after that, but seems to be very lost in his own mind and doesn't seem to be himself. Naka and Ino both notice it, but he just brushes it off before leaving the conversation altogether. After the school got over, he started walking back to his house, but notices that Naka has been following him all the way from school, but isn't approaching him or talking to him. But Naka, the weirdo, immediately runs towards him and smacks him on the head with her bag and tells Ushio to hit her back. She screams at him, saying that something has been clearly bothering him, so he should just simply clean his brain up by punching Naka, and if he doesn't do that, she will keep hitting him. She tells him that he is not a person who thinks for very long, that he is someone who is very impulsive and takes rash decisions, and he should not change who he is before running away. Somehow, however, the advice resonates with Ushio, and he runs off to find where Tora and Hugh is. He finds Hugh and Tora inside of a park, where both seem to be extremely exhausted after fighting for quite some time, but clearly, Hugh has the upper hand as Tora seems to be completely drained of any energy, and is lying on the floor. Just before Hugh was about to deliver the final blow, Ushio runs and stands in front of Tora, telling Hugh to stop. Hugh seems to be confused and asks what does he think he is doing, and finally Ushio admits that he lied to him. Hugh loses his mind and punches Ushio in the face, telling him that it can't possibly be true. He has traveled all around the globe to find this monster, and now he is saying that this isn't the one. Hugh tells Ushio that this has to be the one and throws his kunes at Tora, but Ushio intercepts them in the middle with his spear. He tells Hugh that Tora is not the culprit, and then compares his scar to Hugh's scar, pointing out that Hugh's face has a 3-claw scar, whereas Ushio's face, which was slashed by Tora, has a 4-clawed scar. Hugh again punches Ushio down, and then starts punching him relentlessly in the face while he lies there helpless. Hugh gets up again and starts using a fire spell to set his kunes ablaze to kill Tora, but once again, Ushio stands in the middle, refusing to give way. Hugh throws his kunes regardless, thinking that Ushio will dodge at the last second, but he doesn't. The kunes drive themselves deep into Ushio's body, and he launches himself forward and punches Hugh, telling him that if he kills Tora, it will be cold-blooded murder, and his dead daughter will be disappointed in him before getting completely knocked out. When Ushio wakes up again, it finds himself on a bench. Hugh tells him that he has provided him first aid, and his injuries should heal in time. He tells Ushio that he agrees that if he killed Tora, he would have been a murderer, and thanks him for stopping him. He then says that his search for his family's killer is still going on, and their paths might cross again, and if they do, he hopes they are on the same side, and then he leaves. That day, Ushio goes back to his house and sleeps without a worry. Tora looks at him and prepares to attack, but at the last moment he changes his mind and decides to have a burger instead for now. That's it for this video. Make sure to like and subscribe for part 2, and watch